Welcome to Los Angeles Church for Spiritual Living. Our blessed Reverend Lisa is on the road this weekend, so she won't see you today, but she sends her love and she wants everybody to know that the house is good. Everything intact as of today. Good. So thank you for your prayers and your blessings for the Meg's family and everyone else that you treated for this week. We're going to continue the theme that Reverend Lisa set forth for the month. It's called Blessed Dreams. Some of you may want to say blessed dreams. But the question, and I'm going to ask a few questions today. I'm not going to give you any answers, but I'm going to ask some questions. And I'm asking the questions in the hope that it will stir something within you that will allow you to develop an answer for yourself. We may discuss a few probabilities, but the only definite answer for your life is the one that you develop for yourself. So what does it mean for your dreams to be blessed? Does it mean that they're all positive? Does it mean that all of your dreams come true? When I looked it up, it told me that to be blessed or to be blessed is when you experience the goodness of God or you evoke God's presence on someone else. It's most appropriate for us to believe a blessing is something that makes us happy, that makes us joy-filled. When everything goes according to plan, when our dreams and desires are fulfilled, we consider it a blessing. But if you remember some of our past lectures, Reverend Lisa and I gave you something from Matthew 5 that truly and clearly defines what blessed is, what's a blessing to you, and what can be a blessing to each and every one of us. In that chapter, Jesus tells us all that we are a blessing and we receive a blessing and we're able to give a blessing when we're humble. When we're poor in spirit, meaning when we lack selfishness and arrogance, we're able to receive and give a blessing. When we're mournful, when we experience a great loss or a deep feeling about something. He also said that you have to be meek. Because when you're meek, your first reaction to anything that befalls you, anything that comes into your sphere is love. And he told us that it was being righteousness and just. It was being fair to everyone and to ourselves. That affords us a blessing. He said you should also be merciful. You should also treat others well and show compassion. Because that action, that thought will bring a blessing to that person, but will also bestow a blessing on you. He told us to be pure at heart. He wants us to be free of all negative thoughts and all negative expressions. Because if you have negative thoughts and expressions within you, it's going to block your blessing. He informed us that the best thing to do was to be a peacemaker. And a peacemaker is simply a person that reflects the nature of God. But then he also said that you're blessed when you're persecuted. He says when people are talking about you, you're blessed in that as well. He says when somebody decides to stick a little something on you, he says you need to be glad and rejoice in that, because from that and from your right action in accordance to that, you too can still receive a blessing. You see, when you're humble, the scripture tells us that you're going to experience the kingdom of heaven. He tells us when you're humble, you're going to have high ideas and consciousness. He said when you're mournful, God's comfort and grace is going to come upon you. What it's telling you is that the ultimate good and the ultimate God will always be right here in your space and in your place. When you meek, you have control over your body. You avoid that mere material understanding that can lead you astray. You see, when you're just and when you're righteous, that means you're satisfied. That means that you're going to have all you need and everything that you desire. When you show mercy, when you treat others with respect and compassion, the universe responds to you in kind. And when your heart is pure, God will reveal itself to you. And when you're a peacemaker, God will reveal himself as you. But the best part of what Matthew 5 is telling us is that when you're persecuted, you know, they always say the good part for last. And the good part, he tells you, is that when you're persecuted for doing the right thing, when people are talking about you, when people are lying on you, when that happens, you can receive a blessing that is in heaven. Meaning that you can raise your state of consciousness and allow your soul and body to work in harmony with your divine mind. And no matter what they say about you, what they do to you, what lie they tell on you, it won't stop your blessing. Amen. Amen. Now, I just took a long way around to give you something simple. There's a blessing in all things because all things are one with the Father.
Yes. Yes.
So the next question is, what are dreams? Are they just reflections of your hopes and wishes? Are they just the nightmares that reveal your fears and your doubts? Be you wide awake or be you sound asleep? A dream is simply an inner vision that connects you with spirit. It's an outpicturing of your conscious and subconscious mind working together. So be your dreams good or be your dreams bad. Those thoughts activate a picture that your ego sees with your inner soul vision. When your dreams are blessed, they're good. When your dreams are controlled and based by your sense consciousness, they're bad. But we must remember that good and bad, pleasure and pain, are all products of how much we embrace our spiritual truth. You see, pain is of man. Why you say that, Reverend Jerrold? Because it's temporary. But pleasure comes from God. Well, what makes that, Reverend Jerrold? Because it's eternal. A blessed dream is not a dream that comes true. The blessing in your dream is what's true about your dream and manifest in your life. Yeah. See, to truly understand the meaning of dreams and the blessings that result from them, the one thing we have to do is have a complete understanding of the spiritual experiences that produce them. Since our desire for most of us is to eliminate the bad and accentuate the good, Reverend Lisa directed us to chapter 16, the principles of success, in our textbook. Now, I don't know how many of you actually take the time to read our Science of Mind textbook. Some of you may not read it because some time ago somebody told you that that was not a spiritual book, that they didn't love Jesus and they didn't talk about the Bible. Therefore, you feel you don't need to read it. But if you do read it, you'll find that everything in it is based on Scripture. You'll find the name and the attitude and the nature of Jesus just about on every page.
Truth is.
So if you take the time to read that book along with any other book, including this book, you'll find that they revealed a way. Not the only way, but a way. To understand how the infinite law of God allows us to demonstrate the vision that we have for our life. You see, this successful living that this chapter talks about is something that we all aspire to. But that successful living is going to be only be determined by what we think, what we say, and what we believe. Another way of saying that is going to be determined by what we, or should I say, what we believe is going to be demonstrated by what we think, say, and do. Now, Jesus made it real simple. He just simply said, it's done unto you as you believe. Ernest Holmes, a little more direct and a little more thorough in his explanation, he says this. He says, we can't expect to demonstrate that which is contrary to the nature of our own existence. We not only believe, but we know that it's entirely possible through mental treatment, which is our prayer, through right thought and belief, which is our faith, to greatly influence our environment. It is its reaction to us, the situations we meet, and the conditions we contain. There is such a thing as demonstrating control over our conditions. Reverend Lisa don't want you to get the wrong impression about what Ernest Holmes is saying. That's why she told you that your dreams, this ain't a, what she say, this ain't a name it and claim it type of thing. You know, you don't just take what you want in life. We can't take what we wish, but we can attract to ourselves what is like our thoughts. You see, God's law gives you liberty, but it doesn't give you license. When you operate within the will of God, your dreams are blessed. Thomas Crower says anything that will enable us to exist or express a greater life, more happiness, more power, as long as it doesn't harm anyone else, it is the will of God. Yes. If you want to free yourself from misery and unhappiness, then you have to just do as Spike Lee instructed you and do the right thing. The spirit within you knows what's right. Yet your humanness has to get out of the way in order for you to do what's right. Blessed dreams are the result of following the principles of successful living. That's why she directed you to that chapter. But successful living is simply spiritual living. You see, a modern day mystic by the name of Joel Goldsmith tells us that spiritual living, successful living, requires daily preparation and daily participation. You can't just show up on Sunday and come by a little bit and spend a few hours with Reverend Lisa on Wednesday. You can't just sneak in here and peek at what Reverend Mine has to say on Tuesday. It's a daily, constant activity in preparation. You see, he defines this practical daily life expression as something he calls the infinite way. You can also call it the Christ way. You can also call it the more like Jesus way. You see, many of us say we believe in Jesus. You hear folks claiming that all the time. But they see his actual teaching. They see the things that he said, the messages and the miracles that he performed. They see that it appears to be impractical to them. They don't believe that they are capable or that it's possible within their realm of their human existence on this plane to do anything like Jesus or be any way that Jesus was. You see, if we look at it from a human point of view, if we take the notion that we are lowly sinners point of view, if you believe that you're enslaved by your human frailties, then I can clearly understand why you think the teaching of Jesus is something that's applicable to only a chosen few and not me and you. I understand why the demonstrations of Jesus are beyond your capabilities. But if you believe that you're one with his presence, if you believe that the power and presence of the Father lives, moves, and has his being within you, if you believe that these things that he does, even greater things can you do. If you believe that he came so you would have an abundant, successful, eternal life. If you believe and realize that his desires for you are simply for you to have blessed dreams, then you know that there's nothing more practical than the spiritual truth that Jesus revealed. of Jesus will become an everyday occurrence to all of you who accept and truly believe. Joel Goldsmith goes on to say that to live successfully, to have blessed dreams, there are two basic principles that you must follow. The first is you must consciously accept the presence of God within you. Yes. Remember that constant companion we talked about last week? Yes. You have to consciously accept God's presence, otherwise the teaching remains in the realm of a mental discussion or simply a theory. You must believe that God is. You must believe that Jesus is. You must believe that Spirit is your constant companion. You must know that there is a spiritual, invisible, transcendent presence that is closer to you than your breathing. And it doesn't matter what you call it. Whatever you call it. Whatever religion you subscribe, whatever faith that you have, is the individualization of the Spirit of God within you. That's the thing that you are praying to. So all you need to have blessed dreams is to recognize its validity. The second principle that Joel Goldsmith says that we have to have in order to achieve our goal, which is blessed dreams and a successful life. He says, you have to do away with this notion that there's two ways to look at things. You know, that duality thinking, that good and the bad. Somehow you have to put that, what the Bible says, anything behind you say. You have to put that behind you. Because all error has its origin in a belief that there are two powers. Anything contrary to our success, anything contrary to our blessings, anything contrary to our peace, anything contrary to our happiness, that can't be real stuff. That has to be something that we created in our own mind. Because God did not invent anything that's contrary to our happiness. You see, all of our sins, all of our mistakes, all of our problems have been attributed to our moral mind, our carnal mind, that can be manipulated and mesmerized by evil forces, and all of that does is result in our own error thinking. We don't use the word much in here, but a lot of places today they're talking about somebody called the devil. They shout out a name called Lucifer, or whatever name you give it. That consciousness is the author of death, lack, limitation, and only exists if you believe in those two powers. I believe that all there is God. And God is all there is. God is the one entity that became all things and represents itself only as love and law, not good and evil. Okay, Reverend Jerrold, great philosophy. Gotcha. But how do you prove that this thing I've been hearing all my life in church called the devil is a lie? How do you prove that it's not something divine? How do you prove that God didn't create it like He created everything else? God created you and you believed in it instead of believing in Him. This duality thinking must go. Joel Goldsmith says it this way. He says, no sin, no disease, no unhappy situation could ever be resolved spiritually or metaphysically if there was a natural law perpetuating those conditions. What he's saying is, if the negative, if Lucifer was somebody that was of God, if it was a natural law of God, there's nothing you can do against it. You can't change God's law. So the fact that there has been a healing, the fact that people are down and they get up, the fact that you can have a bad attitude and change into the sweetest person in the world, the fact that we can move from where we are to where we want to be, proves that that duality thinking is a figment of your said God is everywhere present.
Yes.
That means the light is everywhere present.
Yes.
Our Bible tells us in John chapter 8 and 12 verse, it says, I am the light of the world, and whoever follows me shall never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Jesus is the light of the world. He could not have overcome disease nor death if the foundation of law and love were not part of his eternal presence. Psalms 121 says, I lift up my eyes to the hills from which cometh my help, and my help comes from the Lord, which is the law that made all heaven and earth. We must realize that disease, poverty, sorrow, and fear, and misery, those are things that are not of God. They have no spiritual reality, and they only exist in the mind of man. Therefore, they affect only our human condition. And our human condition reveals our belief in it. Now, we all know how it happened. We know how we fell victim to that duality thinking. We know that God, in his magnificent intelligence, produced a man, and he thought about it for a hot second. He says, well, wait a minute, I have all this intellect and wisdom, but I need to infuse it with a little love and a little compassion. So he reached back and brought forth Eve. Perfect harmony, perfect marriage, no mistake made. All he said to him was, look, you got it all, you got everything you need. There's no need for you to look beyond the garden I've placed you in. I've given you stuff to eat, and I've told you what not to eat. But see, those emotions, those sensations, they cause us to want to look beyond where we need to go. So now, all of a sudden, we're standing there knowing that God is not just all this great pleasure that he surrounded me with. There's something I can do to negate this feeling that it may gratify myself, but it could hurt somebody else. That's how we got there. That's how we created a consciousness where we produced two ideas, one called Abel and one called Cain, and Cain did everything he could to destroy the spiritual truth of Abel. So Seth had to come along, iron things out, and expose them to what they could potentially become. You see, to begin to grow and to know our Christ selves, to become more like Jesus, that's when our spiritual perfection becomes free. We unlock it. We take that negative thinking and all that anticipation of what could go wrong out of the mix. We know that every experience, whether it be a little painful in its initial occurrence or whether it's pleasurable from then on, it all has a purpose. It's all a blessing from God. Matthew 10:28 says, fear not them which kill the body, but not able to kill the soul. But fear that which is able to destroy both body and soul. And the only thing that can destroy both the body and soul, the only thing that can destroy that relationship that you have is negative thinking. Yes. It's a concept of a power outside yourself. Oh my God. The function of Christ, the purpose of Jesus, was to break the attachment of your worldly ideas, was to provide an understanding of spiritual truth. But the Master told us, I of my own self can do nothing. Therefore, if I can do nothing, there must be something that does the work. There must be something functioning in my experience that is responsible for my blessed dreams, my successful life, and every demonstration in my life. Next question, what is it? What is that something? It's a recognition of the presence of the Spirit within me. It's realizing that whatever life presents is nothing but a picture, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, and it's not my job to gloat over what's good, nor is it my job to fear what's bad. But we must understand the impersonal nature of both experiences. I must not attach myself to appearances. The appearances of good and evil are no more than our human dreams. But the Christ consciousness awakens us to the truth that every action, because every action is God. And anything contrary is man's imperfection. Ephesians 5:14 says, "Awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light." That scripture is saying, awake from your dream state, a state where both good and evil exist. Because your dreams can reveal a physical desire, or they can reflect your spiritual nature. Your dreams provide an ability for us to communicate unconsciously. Your dreams institute an expression that are not confined to this space and time that we're living in. They are subconscious expressions of what we remember and what we anticipate. You know, a dream can last for 20 minutes, but it can cover an entire lifetime. You've had those dreams. You done dreamed about everything you ever knew, everything you ever experienced, and a few things that you're going to experience. And you wake up and look at the clock and realize you ain't been asleep for 20 minutes. And you covered your entire lifetime. You see, without conscious effort, without painful exhaustion, the evidence of pleasure exists in your dreams. You experience them both. And all your dreams are blessed when you embrace the oneness of God. When you deny power to anything that opposes it. If you deny power to anything that opposes the will and the love and the law of God, you will have nothing but blessed dreams. In our physical existence, blessed dreams are a spiritual eternity of life. That's the blessed dream. Our blessed dreams are a reflection of our material desires, but they're also the personification of our spiritual essence. So I have a question for you. This will be my last question, but I'm going to state it in more than one way. My question is, are you alive and well right now? Or are you asleep in the chair that you're sitting in? I'm going to say that one more time. Are you alive and well right now?
Yes.
Or are you asleep in the chair that you're sitting in? Are you awaiting the Christ's presence to awaken you to a cosmic understanding that expands beyond your life, beyond the limits of your earthly confines? Are you asking the question, I believe that Atlantic Star asked, are you dreaming? Or are you just imagining that you're here with me? You see, we all ask those questions. And those questions are something that we will deal with at a later time. But I want to leave you with those questions in mind. Because when I come back on the fourth Sunday, I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer that question. Oh yeah, we're going to discuss it. But I'm going to leave you with something that gives you a little tip. You know, a good professor, before the final, he always gives you a little extra credit, a little added tip. Something to study on and think on so you can answer the question and do well on the test. Here's your tip. It comes from the great mystic Khalil Gibran. It says, we deal with your answers. You know, it says that for life and death are one. Even as the river and the sea are one. In death of our hopes and our desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. He tells us to trust the dreams, for in them is the hidden gate to eternity. He tells you to trust your dreams, for in them is the hidden gate to eternity. So when you're dreaming, is that your real life? And are you asleep right now? Are you awake to your spiritual truth right now? And the only time you're able to dream is when you move into another sphere of existence. Think about that. We'll answer the question next time. But all I want you to go away with this time is that you have to believe that you and God are one.
Yes. Yes.
And you can't believe that anything contrary to what you know God to be exists in your mind and in your heart.
Yes.
God bless you.
Yes.